Okay, welcome everybody to the first class in the Dakshinamurthy Stotram. So, Dakshinamurthy is a Amsha, a form of Shiva, and he is considered the Adi Guru, the teacher of all teachers. So, this is hymn. A Stotram is a Stuti. Stuti means praise. So, it's a hymn to Dakshinamurthy in all his glories. And this is very unique. It's also it's in a beautiful meter. So the meters are the rhythms at which chanting is done. So that's what gives the benefit of stilling the mind. And this is in a beautiful meter called Shardula Vikriditam. That's the gait of a tiger. Shardula means tiger. So a gait of a tiger. That's how the reason it is it has ups and downs. It's very distinct that way. So it's like a majestic tiger walking. Um, and it is also a Prakarana Grantha. This is of all the hymns. So there are hymns to Vishnu, there are hymns to Shakti, goddess, all those. Of all these, this is the only one which is called a Prakarana Grantha. We've seen what a Prakarana Grantha is. A Prakarana Grantha is an introductory text. Literally, a Prakarana Grantha means a specialized a text on a specialized topic. Here, Prakarana Grantha is a text, introductory text to Vedanta. So this is the only stotram which is also a Prakarana Grantha. And it's a very short stotram. It's called Ashtakam. So the stotram itself, there are 10 verses. And of the 10 verses, there are only 8 have subject content. The other 2 are winding down the glories of the stotram. So it's called, some people call it Dakshinamurthy Ashtakam. Ashtakam means 8. Ashta is 8, but it has 10 verses because the last 2 are glories of the stotram. So there are 10 total verses in this, so it's packed. So what we saw in Atmavoda in 68 verses, it's packed into 8 verses. So it is, some Swami Chinmayananda would call this a PhD level introductory text. And it also has beautiful 6 introductory shlokas called Dhyana shlokas. So before we get into any stotram, typically Vishnu Sahasranama stotram, before you get into it, there's a Dhyana shloka. The Dhyana shloka tells about the beauties of this God that you are trying to meditate on. So it puts your mind in a meditative state, so you can then focus on the chanting. So that's why it's called Dhyana. Dhyana means meditation. So Dhyana shlokas, there are 6 beautiful Dhyana shlokas. So total 6 plus 10, 16 shlokas. Okay. In the first class, maybe we'll cover 1 shloka. That's it, because there's so much introduction before that we'll give. One of the focus of this 4-class series is the symbolisms. All the gods and goddesses in the Hindu pantheon, they have many hands, each hand holding a weapon or some mudra or some other object like a conch or something, a whip. Everything is symbolic of something very deep and profound. So we will study those symbolisms. So one benefit of the Dakshinamurthy Stotram is you will understand all this deep symbolism. Second is, of course, the chanting. It's in a beautiful meter. And the third is it's an introductory text to Vedanta. So it condenses the entire Vedanta into these 8 verses. Okay. As usual, we'd like to acknowledge Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati for the traditional rendering of Vedanta as it was done for over 1,000 years, starting with Adi Shankaracharya. We'll say a small prayer. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Okay. Salutations to the lineage starting with Lord Sadashiva, with Adi Shankaracharya in the middle and continuing up to our immediate teacher, Swami Paramarthananda Saraswati. Okay. Now, um, so the first portion, we will look at the meaning of the word Dakshinamurthy. The word Dakshinamurthi has two meanings. The most common meaning that is used is the south-facing deity. Dakshina, so there are four directions in Sanskrit. Dakshina is south, Uttara is north, then Purva is east, Paschima is west. So that's why even in the asanas, there's Purva Uttanasana, intense stretch facing the east. Then there's Paschima Uttanasana, intense stretch facing the west, all those things. So all these are directions. Every direction has a deity associated with it, which we will see. So Dakshinamurti is the south. Murti means form of the deity. So it is the south-facing deity. Dakshina means facing the south. So it's the deity who faces the southern direction. And the lords of the directions, east is Indra, west is Varuna. Varuna is the god of water. Then north is Soma Devata. That is the Soma refers to a certain nectar. So Soma Devata. The south is Yama. So who is Yama? Anybody wants to say? As shown here. Who's Yama? Anybody?
The god of death.
Yes. So Yama represents the god of death. So as you can see, nobody, that is why some people consider it inauspicious to have a home, the door facing the south, because south refers to Yama. It's just superstition. Yama also has he's Dharmaraja, which means he's a lord of Dharma. He upholds Dharma. So without Yama, entire world would be plunged into disorder and chaos. So Yama has a accountant, Chitragupta. He has a ledger, and he keeps accounts of people's punyam and papam, that is merits and demerits. And based on that, he will, after this life is over, they go to heaven, hell for some time, and then the cycle continues. So the south-facing Yamadharmaraja is the deity of mortality and finitude. So what does Shiva? No other deity dares to face the south, but Shiva faces the south. So what does it symbolize? It symbolizes conquering mortality, facing the southern direction to signify transcendence over time and death. So Yama also signifies time, because our lifetime in this world is finite, right? So it signifies time. Kala, the Kala is time is the greatest enemy. It's running out. So Yama, by facing the southern direction, Dakshinamurti says, I am not afraid of mortality, and you should not be afraid of mortality. That's the symbolism. So Yama is shown with a pasha, which is a noose that he uses to catch the Sukshma Shariram and take it to wherever, heaven or hell or whatever. So that is Yamadharmaraja. Okay. And Shiva is also, because he conquers death, he's also called Mrityunjaya, the one who has conquered death. So there's a very, very, very famous story of Markandeya. So it's called, there's also a Stotram, like we have Dakshinamurti Stotram. There is a hymn to Markandeya. Markandeya is considered a celestial, immortal sage, always there. So the story goes that there was a rishi called Mrikandu and his wife Marudvati. So they were devout worshippers of Shiva. And what happened once, they didn't have children for a long time. So they wanted to have a child. Shiva, so they prayed to Shiva, and Shiva did appear before them. And after their intense tapas, he says, "Okay, what do you want? I'm willing to give you a boon." And so they said they wanted a child. And Shiva says, "Your karma is such that you can have a child, but you will have two options. You could have a son who would be dull-witted, wicked, but who would live a long life, or you can have a son who would be exceptionally intelligent, righteous, a great devotee, whose lifespan would only be 16 years. You choose what you want." So at that point, both of them, Mrikandu and his wife Marudvati, they chose the virtuous son. So they reasoned that a short life filled with goodness is much better than a long life filled with um, all cruelty. So then they did have a child was born to them, and the child was growing up such a wonderful person, and the child was called Markandeya. Markandeya, however, was destined to die at the age of 16. Once um, Markandeya saw his parents being very frustrated, very one day, very, very sad and frustrated. Um, and he asked, "So what happened?" And it was getting close to his 16th birthday. So then, after a lot of thought, they explained, "This is the situation." Markandeya was not afraid. So Markandeya said his faith in his chosen deity, that is Ishta Devata, deity of choice, Shiva, was unwavering. He promised his parents he would overcome his destiny through the power of devotion. So um, he created a Shiva Lingam, which is a form of Shiva, which for meditation, and he started chanting the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. So this is a powerful mantra which is chanted to overcome fear, conquering death. And on the day he turned 16, Markandeya was deep in meditation. He was actually embracing Shiva, the lingam that he created. So the messengers of Yama, usually Yama is very busy. He only goes to get sharirams, the sukshma sharirams of very dignitaries, big people. So he sends his messenger, "Oh, you go get this boy." So when the messengers, as they approach to take away his sukshma shariram, which the people call in English, they call the soul. But as they approached, they were just burned back. The fire from his radiance just scorched the messengers of Yama. So they then told Yama, "Okay, we can't do anything about this boy. You have to go get him yourself." So Yama comes, and he was irritated. Why are you giving so much trouble? And he comes in his fearsome black buffalo, and then he throws the noose. "Come on, it's time to go." And he throws the noose. But because Markandeya was hugging the Shivalingam, it falls on the Shivalingam. And that is a very inauspicious thing to do. How he's disrespected Shivalingam. Shivalingam cracked open, and from that there was a huge roar, and Shiva comes in the most ferocious form. It's not shown here. It comes as Kala Antaka. Kala Antaka. Kala means time. Antaka means one who ends time. So the ender of time and death. So with eyes blazing, he hurls his trident. Some say that he just opens his third eye. So Shiva has a third eye, which is the Jnana Agni, which destroys all ignorance. And fire just burnt Yama. Some say he throws his trident at Yama. Yama anyway falls down dead. So Shiva, but then all the gods pleaded with him. If Yama Dharmaraja is gone, the entire world will be filled with chaos. So Shiva brings back Yama to life, and he also blesses Markandeya and says, your faith in me was so unmovable, unshakable. I will give you a boon. You will forever remain 16 as a Chiranjeevi, immortal being, to stand as a timeless symbol of devotion. So that is the story of Markandeya Stotram. There's also, we talked about time, right? There's also a Chandrasekhara Stotram. And this is written by Markandeya Muni himself. And then the Chandrasekhara is, Chandra means the moon. So he has the crescent moon adorning his head. What does it signify? Moon as an ornament. Moon represents time. So if you look at the calendars, there's a lunar calendar. And in the lunar, if traditional people, how my mother used to do is, they used to look at Tithi. So Tithi is a lunar day. It's defined as the time it takes for the angle between the, so there is, let's say my head is the earth, one side is the sun, one side is the moon. So this is full moon, but when the moon is on the other side, it becomes new moon. So where the 360-degree, it goes like that. The every 12-degree is called a lunar day. And there are 30 tithis in a month, because 360 divided by 12 is 30. So 30 lunar days in a lunar month, divided into 2 fortnights. So every Tithi is associated with a specific deity. It's believed that the changing relationship between the sun and the moon influences a person's physical and mental states. That's why even in asana practice, typically full moon and new moon days are rest days. So Tithi, some tithis are considered more or less auspicious for different activities. Every tithi has its own good and bad things. So weddings to religious ceremonies are all planned around this. And then Paurnami is the full moon day. It's the 15th tithi of the Shukla Paksha, the bright fortnight. It is the day when the moon is fully illuminated by and directly opposite the sun. Then Amavasya is the new moon, the 15th tithi of the dark fortnight, or the Krishna Paksha. So a moon represents time. Keeping the moon as an ornament means keeping time under control. So we are helplessly at the mercy of time. But Shiva, by having the moon, he's using it as an ornament. He shows, I am the control. I have time under control. Okay. So first meaning, we've seen south-facing deity who's the conqueror of mortality. There is also a second meaning. Dakshina also means a skilled person. So in fact, in the first Dhyana shloka, we'll see Cheda Daksham Namami Jaranam Janana Marana Dukkha Cheda Daksham Namami. What it means is that Janana Marana Dukkham, all the cycle of births and deaths, he's skilled at eliminating that. So if you're not having cycle of births and deaths, you're getting moksha. So the Dakshina means a skilled person or an expert. And what kind of an expert is this person? This person is skilled at communicating. And Amurtihi, this person has no form. In reality, even though it's shown with all these adornments, everything, Shiva's like radiant, glowing skin. And Shiva's like very beautiful. Dakshinamurthy, young person, very beautiful. But here, the original thing, what it is symbolic of, is symbolic of the formless Nirguna Brahman. We've seen what Nirguna Brahman is. That is the consciousness that's pervading the entire universe. So Nirguna Brahman, Shiva is conscious of the, represents the Nirguna Brahman. Amurtihi, so Dakshina Amurtihi. Uh, Dakshina means skilled, Amurtihi means formless person. This person is formless yet skilled at communicating the knowledge of Brahman. So two meanings: south-facing deity who's a conqueror of mortality, and second meaning, actually formless one who's an expert in communicating the knowledge of Brahman through silence. We'll see that soon. Okay. Then there is another, how Shiva, this Dakshinamurthy, this picture, if you see, Shiva has is shown clothed in a tiger skin. He has snake is not shown. There's a snake. He has the moon, and then there is the Rakshasa. This is a demon who's under his pinned under his leg. So how all these came about? So what happened was, once there were some rishis in the, and they lived in a forest called Dharuvana forests. So And these rishis, they were becoming very arrogant. So what they did is they started thinking they were the ones who were responsible for who were the greatest because they did a lot of yajna. Yajna means, does anybody know what a yajna is? We've seen that in the Bhagavad Gita. Anybody wants to say?
Fire ritual?
So yeah, fire ritual, you can say. So yajna, the Bhagavan in the Bhagavad Gita talks about various kinds of yajna. Yajna means offering something for the greater good while seeking benefit. So that Bhagavan says is the right way to get ask for things by offering the results of the merit to for a larger good. Okay, you may get something in return, but you are also keeping the cycle of life in correct order, which means you're not taking more than what you're giving. So yajna is you can say something like a puja to gain some benefit. So these days yajnas are replaced with pujas, where you kind of worship, asking God for something. Okay, and that's done in every religion. So these rishis did a lot of yajnas, and they thought the entire world was held together by the power of their yajnas. All the rains came because of their yajnas. Oceans was there. Everything happened. Crops grew because of their yajnas. They're becoming more and more arrogant. So Shiva decided to teach them a lesson. He comes as this very handsome young man called Bhikshatana, and he's asking for alms. So these um, sannyasis, the renunciants, they don't have a bank balance or anything. So they just, like all the monks, they go ask for alms from house to house. Like that, this beautiful, young, very handsome young person comes. And as a result, what happened? All the wives of all these sages, they were just captivated by his beauty, how handsome he was. So they're mesmerized at his looks, and they just start following him wherever he was going. And this angered the rishis. And to add more confusion to this state, so the entire Gurukulam, the place where the rishis lived, along with their students, it was thrown into chaos. To add to the problem, Vishnu comes as Mohini. Mohini is this beautiful enchantress. It's Maya. It takes the form of Mohini, the enchantress, beautiful woman. And this woman comes a little behind Bhikshatana. And on seeing this beautiful woman, all these celibate monks, the disciples, they were also like mesmerized. So the entire hermitage was in chaos. So this angered the sages so much, they wanted to destroy Bhikshatana, the Shiva, in this young person. So they they created a sacrificial fire, and they chanted mantras. From this came a ferocious tiger, and they sent a tiger, huge tiger, at Shiva. Shiva, just with his little finger, skins the tiger and wears the tiger skin as a robe. So that's why Shiva is seen wearing a tiger skin. Then they sent a very venomous serpent. Shiva just takes it and puts it as a um, ornament around his neck. So I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but he just puts it as in his neck, the snake that you see there. And then this send a drum. So this drum has a deafening sound. It can just throw people into madness with this sound. So mystical drum, dhamaru, and Shiva just took it in his hand, and he controls it, and he makes it rhythmical. The rhythm of that represents the pulse of creation. And then they send a blazing trident, and Shiva just catches it and uses it as his weapon. Then finally they send this demon of ignorance called Apasmara. Smriti means memory. Apasmara means one who causes loss of memory. Okay, so apashruti, the word apashruti means in while chanting, they say when the tune goes out of whack, they call it shruti is the tune. When the shruti goes out of whack, it's apashruti, loss of shruti. Like that, apasmara is one who creates loss of memory. So and this the demon has a childlike face. So it's, and Shiva just pins him down and dances on top of that, showing I have controlled. Now the question comes: why does Shiva not destroy the demon? Because this demon represents Maya. Okay, Shiva represents Brahman. So Maya, and we saw that in Atma Bodha, light and darkness are two sides of the same coin. When you talk of light, you talk of darkness too. So when you talk of consciousness or knowledge, you have to talk of ignorance. But you can control ignorance by lighting it up with knowledge. Wherever ignorance is there, you can shine light and of knowledge and reveal things. So you, Shiva does not destroy because it is part of nature. So, but he controls, he conquers ignorance, Maya. So the apasmara signifies Maya. So far, is everything clear, everybody? Okay, Amy says clear. Okay. And Shiva also has a deer. Sometimes he's shown having a deer in the hand. The deer represents the mind, because mind is going fickle here, it goes, runs here and there. By having the deer, Shiva shows he's the conqueror of the mind. Shiva is symbolized as the Adi Yogi, the one, the ancient yogi who gives the knowledge of yoga, and also the Adi Guru. He is the teacher of all the teachers. And what is Shiva? Shiva is nothing but a symbolic form of Brahman. Okay. Um, and the uniqueness of this text, Stotram means a hymn praised of Saguna Ishvara. So Saguna Ishvara means the God with qualities, with form, everything. So it's easy for us to visualize. And we give a lot of aspects to this, having a moon, that to symbolize various aspects. It is classified under as a Prakarana Grantha, a Vedantic text, and not as a Stotra Grantha. So 6 Dhyana shlokas, they were not written by Shankaracharya. The 10 main shlokas were written by Shankaracharya. Okay, it has many commentaries. So this has huge commentaries. So this is in Shaiva tradition. In the Vaishnava tradition, there is a similar deity called Hayagriva. So Hayagriva is shown with a horse's head. And that Hayagriva is a Brahma Vidya Guru. So there's also a stotram, Jnananandamayam Devam Nirmala Spatika Kritim Adaram Sarpa Vijnanam Hayagrivo Pasmahe. So this is sung to before you start any like school. Before we start school, we used to sing this stotra before we started. Okay, so Dhyana shlokas, meditation on the glories of the hymn before its study. So we get into the first Dhyana shloka. So I will chant this. Om Maunapyakya prakatita para Brahma tattvam yuvanam वर्षेष्टान्ते वसदृशिगणैः आवृतं ब्रह्मनिष्ठैः आचार्येन्द्रं करकलितचिन्मुद्रमानन्दमूर्तिम् स्वात्मा रामं मुदितवदनं Dakshinamurthy. So this is a Dhyana shloka from the Manasol Lasa of Sureshwaracharya. So Shankaracharya had four um, main disciples. One of them was called Sureshwaracharya. He's very, very brilliant person. So he wrote a huge commentary, and this shloka is from that commentary. Okay, so what does this mean? Okay, um, Mauna Vyakya. So Vyakya means exposition. And how? Exposition through Maunam, silence. What does Dakshinamurthy do? He's sitting there. So let's look at the picture. He's sitting there, surrounded by all the rishis. Should be a picture soon. Yeah. Young person sitting, youthful. All the rishis, they have flowing white hair, white beards, everything. And he's not talking. He's just sitting there, and all the rishis' doubts were quelled. So, Mauna Vyakya, by silence, Prakatita Para means reveals. One who by explanation through silence revealed what? Prakatita Para, Parabrahma Tattvam, the essence of the Supreme Brahman. Tattvam means essence. So the one who reveals the essence of the Supreme Brahman, how? Through silence. मौनव्याख्या प्रकटितपरब्रह्मतत्त्वं युवानम् वर्षेष्टान्ते वसदृशिगणैः. So who's young, um, he's very young, and he's surrounded by hosts of elderly sages as his disciple. Varshishta, Ante Vashad. Varshishta means elderly. Ante Vashad means literally, Ante means inside, Vashati means dwelling. So it means indweller or a resident of a Gurukulam, which represents or essentially his students. So Varshishta Ante Vashad Rishi means the students who are elderly rishis. Rishi Ganai, hosts of rishis, not one, many, many rishis. Um, and what kind of rishis are they? They are Brahmanishtai. They are who are firmly rooted in the knowledge of the self. So, hosts of elderly sages as his disciples who are firmly rooted in the knowledge of the self. Brahman is the consciousness, all pervading, that's the same as the self, the Atma. So, Brahmanishtai means who are firmly rooted in the knowledge of the self. Um, then, and what kind of a teacher is he? He's Acharyendram. He is the teacher of all teachers. So, Indra literally means king. Okay. So, Acharyendra means the king among teachers. So, Mrigendra in the Bhagavad Gita, Mrigendra, Mriganam Mrigendroham, Vainateyascha Pakshinam. Of all the animals, I am the king of the animals, which refers to the lion. So, Indra means king. So, here Acharyendra means the king of all teachers, the teacher of all teachers. So, yeah, and Yuvanam here refers to the youthful looking teacher, who is the teacher of all teachers. Then Karakalita Chinmudram Anandamurtim. Okay, Karakalita Chinmudram. Karam means hand. Karakalita means who's gesturing with his hand. What kind of a mudra? Chin mudra. We will study the mudra in great depth now. So this is Chin mudra. It's shown like that. Okay. And we'll see that who is the teacher of all teachers, whose hand gestures the Chin mudra. Ananda Murti. Murti means form. Ananda Murti means form is bliss. Just looking at it makes one feel blissful. Anandamurti, Swatma Ramam, one who revels in his inner nature, because that person knows his inner nature is infinite and it is not limited to the body. So this is what we saw in the Atma Bodha as well as the Bhagavad Gita. And Mudita Vadanam, Vadanam means face. Mudita means, it means joyful. So for those who know the Yoga Sutras, there's a sutra which goes as Maitri Karuna Mudito Pekshanam. Mudita means delight, whose face is so joyful. And Mudita Vadanam Dakshinamurthy Mire. Ide means I praise or glorify, I worship. So I worship that Dakshinamurthy who's all what is mentioned here. Okay, so beautiful. Now there are, it mentions several glories of Dakshinamurti in the stotram. A stotram is a stuti, it is a praise, right? So it praises the glories. So all this is the dhyana shlokas where we are setting the stage. Okay, what is the first glory? Mauna Vyakya. This person, Dakshinamurti, is teaching through silence. Now you will ask, how can you teach anything through silence? Silence is symbolic of indirect teaching. It is very symbolic. Because why? Atma, that is your true self, which is the consciousness. We are like electricity in the grid is the consciousness pervading the entire universe, and the same electricity, like electricity, it's in the body, the consciousness, and that is called Atma. Atma is the same as Brahman. When you say electricity inside your computer, it is called a certain thing. In the grid, it's the same electricity which flows. Atma cannot be described. In fact, that is one of the properties of the Atma. It is beyond words. And how do you find Atma? By negating anything that is not Atma. By what remains after the negation of everything is the negator themselves. That is the Atma. So, what Swamiji would say here is the Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahman or the Atma, is not a crash program where somebody touches your head and you immediately get enlightened. If such shortcuts are there, Krishna could have used this on Arjuna. But Krishna talks 700 verses of Gita to motivate Arjuna to fight. Okay? And that's a very inconvenient place. It's the most inconvenient place. The Mahabharata was taking place in a battlefield. So Krishna just didn't put his thumb on his Agnya Chakra and give Arjuna the knowledge. No, that is not possible. You have to study to understand your own self. So the 5 properties of the Atma, the first property is aprameyaha, that which cannot be comprehended. And it's also avinashi, eternal or indestructible, sarvagataha, all-pervading, nirvikaraha, it's changeless, and it's akarta and abhokta. Like electricity just makes a fan rotate or a light bulb glow, Atma gives consciousness to anything. The actions that people do depends on the mental makeup, which is also karma, all those things. We've seen this exhaustively in Atma Bodha and also in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you want to know more, refer to those videos or slides. And what is he revealing? Parabrahma Tattvam Prakatitaha. Prakatita reveals what Parabrahma Tattvam, the essence of the Supreme Brahman. And what is this essence? Desha Kala Vastu Paricheda Shunyam. It's devoid of the limitations of space, time, and attributes, because the entire creation happens on the substratum of Brahman. Desha, space, Kala, time, Vastu, object, Paricheda, limitation. Shunyam is devoid. So, Desha Kala Vastu Paricheda Shunyam. It is devoid of the limitations of space, time, and attributes of an object. That is the nature of Brahman. Okay? And what kind of a teacher is he? He's a youthful teacher. Yuvanam. Dakshinamurti is pictured as youthful. Symbolically, it means Vedanta keeps one's perspective youthful. Vedanta makes a person youthful in mind, always positive, always non-critical, always appreciative in any field. And in the Bhagavad Gita also, it says, there's a famous sloka. It's in the Trishtup meter. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyah ajo nitya shashvato yam puranaha na hanyate kanyamane sharire. This Atma is neither born nor does it die. It does not come into existence nor it disappear again at another time. Meaning it was always there. Doesn't like it doesn't manifest and unmanifest. No. Atma is unborn, eternal, unchanging, and ancient, very ancient. That is you. So this is not some Atma. That you are ancient, you are unchanging, you are eternal, you are unborn. The body is born, but not you. Body is just like a cloth that you wear. So this Atma that we are talking about, it's not some third entity sitting somewhere in heaven. No, that is you. So this is from Katha Upanishad. So Atma is free from all modifications. Nirvikara Atma. Similarly, those who worship Dakshinamurthy, like Markandeya, are also youthful, ever 16. This is a stark contrast from the norm, because usually, how is the teacher when you have a picture of like a regular a school or whatever? How is the teacher and how is the student? Anybody?
Yeah, the teacher's the older, wiser one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and students are younger ones, right? Here
Mhm.
it's the opposite. It's a stark contrast from the norm. So Yuvanam, surrounded by these elderly sages, and later in the third Dhyana Shloka, will see what a wonder it is. This teacher is so young, and all the disciples are very old. So it's a wonder. So it will come in the third Shloka. So um, this is a Brahmanishta. So the second meaning, which seems to be more significant, is that the Saguna Brahmanishta, they come to a teacher to a embodied form to learn about the formless Brahman, that is their self. So that is the meaning of this youthful teacher. Acharyendraha, teacher of teachers, the only Acharya who was never a disciple. He never had a guru, Adi Guru. That's why who does not have the guru. He's a Sampradaya initiator. Sampradaya is the tradition of this teaching. He was never ignorant. Okay. Now, most important thing. Karakalita chin mudram. Karakalita means gesturing with the hand. What does he gesture? Chin mudra. So I have a deck of cards with all the mudras. So I took pictures from that card because there's usually confusion. They mix chin mudra and jnana mudra. So chin mudra is usually shown pointing down. So in this Ashtanga also, in you sit in Padmasana with the fingers like that, that is the chin mudra because it's going down. This is jnana mudra. Chin mudra conveys it's a very important mudra. It conveys the essence of Vedanta, which is the oneness of the Jivatma and the Paramatma. What you call the God, which is like the ocean, and the wave, which is like an individual, it's one and the same. And what is the common thing between the ocean and the wave? Anybody?
It's the same water.
Same water. So that is like the Atma, the consciousness. Everything else is the shell. So the consciousness is the same. So Jivatma is this individual, Paramatma is the supreme entity. The body of Paramatma or God is the entire universe. Consciousness at that level, reflecting of that is at a grand scale, whereas our consciousness reflects of this imperfect, tiny mind. Okay, and this is called Angushta Tarjani Yoga. Angushta, we'll see next. Okay. Angushta refers to the thumb. If you see all the Sanskrit words, and it's similar in German also, the words have masculine, feminine, neuter genders. Okay. Some words are masculine, some are feminine, some are neutral gender. Now, Angushta is masculine. So that is the thumb. Usually, the Purusha or the consciousness is given a masculine name. It's just symbolic. You can reverse it because Atma has no gender. You, in fact, the body has all the gender, but you, in your original essence, has no male, female, nothing, no gender. Okay. And we've seen this in the Atma Bodha too, when the Maya represents the feminine gender, and the Purusha, or Purusha, and we can call it Prakriti. So the manifested form of Maya is the material universe. When they come together, the Maya comes with Purusha, creation happens. Okay, that's why Mama Yonir Mahat Brahma in the Bhagavad Gita says, my womb is this entire universe from which everything comes, the great womb. So Angushta represents the thumb, which signifies the consciousness, Atma or Purusha. Then Tarjani means, literally the word means to point at, to scold or threaten. So the finger, it's the pointing finger, right? So it's called the word Tarj means to point at or scold, threaten. All those are different meanings of the word Tarj. Tarjani means that which is used for pointing. So it's feminine. Tarjani, which means feminine gender. And Tarjani, this refers to the individual. This is the Purusha, the thumb, the index finger is the individual. And what is the individual? The individual consists of, actually, the individual identifies with the other three fingers. And what are the three fingers? Middle finger, Madhyama, again feminine, refers to the Stula Shariram, the gross body, that is the physical body. The ring finger, Madhyama means middle one. Ring finger is called Anamika, it's also feminine, means the nameless one. Why are all these feminine? Because they are all associated with Prakriti, which is Maya. Maya is the feminine. Purusha is the consciousness. When they come together, the entire universe is formed. Namika means nameless one. It is considered sacred. That is the ring finger. It's considered sacred, and it is used to apply tilak and wearing ritual rings, and it's kept nameless. You don't want to give it a name. It's a secret. Little finger is Kanishta. So the middle finger is the Sthula Shariram, gross body. The index, the ring finger is the Sukshma Shariram, the subtle body, which consists of the mind and the pranas and other things and the senses. Little finger is the Kanishta, means the youngest or the smallest. It represents the Karana Shariram, the causal body. Once pralayam happens, everything is unmanifest. Our karmas, so they don't let us go that easily. It gets stored as imprints, as Karana Shariram, the causal body. It is the cause for the next birth. Okay, so is this part clear? So Purusha, this is the individual, and these are the Stula, Sukshma, all the Sharirams. Usually the individual identifies with the body, physical body, and then a little bit with the mind, and then less with the causal body. So by signifying this, what does Shankaracharya want us to do? Identify with the Brahman. So that's what. The Brahman, when you make the index finger touch the top of the thumb, you are identifying with the Brahman and not with your three bodies. Okay. So by default, the sentient individual identifies with the three bodies instead of the Atma. Four-finger Tarjani represents the ego. The thumb, masculine gender, Purusha. The four fingers, feminine gender, the Prakriti. So Atma, Jiva, Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. All these four fingers are useful only because of the thumb. Without consciousness, the body is dead, inert. They say human being alone has a unique design of the thumb. Because of this, the human being is able to maximize the use of the hand. So from birth, we naturally identify with the Sharira Trayam, but by doing the Chin Mudra, we start identifying with the Atma. That is the dawn of knowledge. Okay. Mudra is a seal to prevent dissipation of prana and focus it. So you're focusing your thoughts on this. And then Mudita Vadanam, a joyful face. Why does he have a joyful face? Because he is Swatma Raman, one who rejoices in his own self. Happiness is self-contained. He doesn't have to rely on something else for his happiness. he is self-contained. Okay. Then we will just start with the Dhyana Shloka 2. We won't be able to finish it today. We are making good progress on time. So far, are there any questions? Otherwise, we will, so the initial classes, we will chant less, and the later classes, there will be more chanting. So I will just chant this. वटविटपि समीपे भूमिभागे निषण्णम् सकलमुनिजनानां ज्ञानदातारमारात् त्रिभुवनगुरुमीशं दक्षिणामूर्तिदेवम् जननमरणदुःख चेददक्षं नमामि. So this meter, so I forgot to tell, the Dhyana Shloka 1 and 2, they are strictly not in the Shardula Vikriditam, which has 19 syllables per line. Here you will find 17 syllables. This is a mix between Trishtuk meter, which we saw, the Na Jayate Mriyate Va Kadachit Nayam Bhutva Bhavita Bhana Bhuyah. So it's a mix between the 11-syllabled Trishtup and the 19-syllabled Shardula Vikritam. So the first two Dhyana shlokas are in this hybrid meter. Okay, so I bow down to the divine Dakshinamurthy, who is seated on the ground near a banyan tree, who is the giver of knowledge directly, who is the guru of the three worlds, who is an expert, Dakshina, expert, Cheda Daksham Namami, who is the expert at destroying the sorrow of birth and death. And we'll look at the word by word meaning in the next class. So I shall pause the recording here.